Today, on this week, as the UNGA 76 meets, we are confronted with a more unequal world, as we've had even from the other preparatory assemblies. More than before, we are confronted with a more unequal world. And we know and can agree that this COVID-19 pandemic has already taken a disproportionate toll on billions of people living in poverty. And for the last months, inequitable access to vaccines has deeply widened the gap between the rich and the poor. And the trajectory from all we see is likely to persist for years to follow. So if the world was any closer to achieving the SDG goals before COVID-19, we are now clear that sadly, we are far from that reality after COVID-19. And yet, the powers with the means to act and change the on us, they are blind or lack a conscience. The multilateral system we work with or work in has failed to meaningfully check the excesses of profit, but time is running out for billions of people. I have 3 points. First, the most urgent, those of us who are part of the People's Vaccine Alliance are asserting that the only way to get the SDGs on track is to end the pandemic. And the people's vaccine accessible to all free of charge is the way to do that. A few powerful countries are still blocking this and keeping the rest of humanity behind. They are choosing to help pharmaceutical corporations make more billions of dollars in profits instead of allowing billions of people across the world to be vaccinated. It is the Secretary General who said, we cannot be safe until all of us are safe, and he's right. Second, we can't simply go back to normal. We need a plan to fight inequality most urgently in every country with time-bound, specific, measurable targets. And some countries, small ones like Sierra Leone, are showing us that this can be done through deliberate investment on education and also deliberate efforts to include women. Yes, it can be done by all governments committing to a global tax regulatory regime under the UN that can effectively stop illicit financial flows that continues to bleed many parts of the world, including Africa, where more than $60 billion every year is lost to IFFs. There is an array of solutions to deliver such a plan, but the biggest legacy of the deadly pandemic has to be that access to healthcare is a right for all, not a privilege for the rich. We need quality universal healthcare in every country. That is one of the most powerful economic, but also gender equalizers, because we know women and girls are disproportionately impacted by every inequality everywhere. It may be noted that even before the pandemic, 10,000 people died each day for lack of access to healthcare. Countries like Costa Rica and Thailand have shown us that you actually don't need to be a super rich nation to achieve this. What is most needed is political intent, the will to act. And third and finally, people living in poverty around the world already feel the impacts of climate crisis. Indeed, it shouldn't take the wildfires in California to make the polluting rich to wake up. I hope they now have woken up anyway. People across Africa have dealt with effects of climate change for years. Now it is time for action. The emissions of the richest people are killing us and robbing us of our livelihoods. We need to radically bring down emissions. We need real zero targets, not vague net zero targets. We need a huge increase in climate financing for people already living through catastrophe. The sum of these parts is that we must overcome a global economic system that remains extractive, racist, exclusive, and shall I add, colonial. And this year's UNGA must set a serious tone in that direction. The response to all of this is a response of equality, of justice, of hope. That is the hope found in the Secretary General's Our Common Agenda. That hope is found in what activists are calling for. That is the hope that women and men and girls and boys on this continent have. They are not simply dreaming of a better future. No, they just want to not be prevented by the injustice and the inequality dealt to them by the richest countries and the richest people from claiming the better future that is their right. We welcome the call for a summit of the future in 2023 and World Social Summit in 2025, and commit to ensure that the diverse voices of civil society People from different parts of the world and the most marginalized are fully and meaningfully included in the preparatory processes, but most importantly in the decision making. I thank you and thank you very much.